Have you ever made a choice that felt completely logical, only to realize later that it wasn't? Maybe you were chasing money, love, or status, and at the time it all made sense. But looking back, it was full of contradictions, impulses, or hidden biases. We like to think of ourselves as rational beings, the thinkers, the planners, the ones who carefully weigh every choice. But is that really true? Or is it just a comforting story we tell ourselves to feel in control? Can we ever really be as logical as we like to believe? Today, let's ask the big question. Are humans truly the most rational species on Earth? And what does it even mean to be rational? If you enjoy diving deep into questions about human nature and the mind, make sure to subscribe to Mind in the Mirror and hit the like button. Because today, we're exploring something that will make you rethink what you thought you knew about yourself. Part 1. The idea of rationality. Rationality usually means the ability to think clearly, make smart decisions, and act in ways that help us reach our goals. On the surface, humans seem to fit this idea. We've built cities, invented amazing technology, and even traveled to space. We can plan, calculate, and solve really hard problems. But being truly rational is more than just thinking or calculating. Real rationality means staying calm, looking at things objectively, and not letting emotions take over. It's about seeing the world as it really is, not just how we wish it would be. And this is where things get tricky. Humans are emotional beings. Almost every choice we make, even the ones that seem logical, carries some weight of fear, desire, or past experience. Even in science, where logic and facts are supposed to guide us, biases sneak in. Researchers might favor results they hope for. Investors often let fear or greed influence their decisions, even when the data says otherwise. Politicians make choices that feel right to their supporters, not always what is actually best or true. So, if being rational means clarity and objectivity, humans often fall short. Our emotions, habits, and desires influence us more than we like to admit. Part 2. The irrational side of humanity. Humans are amazing, but also messy. We can think, plan, and reason, yet we often make choices that work against our own best interests. Think about it. Someone knows smoking is harmful to their health, yet continues anyway. A parent might focus on saving money to show off status, instead of spending time and love with their children. Whole societies chase quick profits, even when it causes long-term harm to the planet. These actions aren't really rational in the strict sense. Most of the time, our choices are shaped by emotions, habits, social pressure, or mental shortcuts that psychologists call heuristics. Our brains didn't evolve to think perfectly or make ideal decisions. They evolved to help us survive. Fear, desire, memory, and instinct influence us far more than pure logic. Even how we see reality is filtered through our minds. Two people can witness the same event and remember it completely differently. Our minds tell stories that make sense of what we experience, even if those stories aren't entirely accurate. In this way, human rationality is often just a carefully dressed-up mix of instinct, emotion, and reasoning, rather than perfect logic. Part 3. Comparing humans to other species. If we step back and look beyond humans, how do we really measure up compared to other animals? While animals don't build cities, invent technology, or explore space, many show remarkable logic and problem-solving skills. Crows, for example, use sticks to reach food that would otherwise be out of reach. Octopuses can figure out how to escape from complex traps. Dolphins work together in groups to hunt strategically, and even ants display a kind of collective intelligence, solving problems that no single ant could handle alone. In some ways, these animals act more consistently rational than humans. A bird that avoids poisoned food doesn't overthink or worry about how it will be perceived. It simply acts to survive. Humans, on the other hand, often make choices that feel good in the moment but can harm us over time, like eating unhealthy food, overspending, or ignoring risks. Animal rationality is practical and direct. It isn't clouded by ego, pride, or storytelling. Animals live in reality as it is, responding to the world around them without adding unnecessary emotion or narrative. In that way, they can sometimes be wiser in their decision-making than we are. Part 4. Why humans think they are rational. So why do humans often believe they are the most rational species on Earth? Part of it comes from confidence. We like to tell ourselves stories about how smart we are, how morally superior we are, and how capable of logical thinking. Fields like philosophy, science, and law reinforce this idea, making us feel that humans are naturally thoughtful and reasonable creatures. But there is also comfort in believing we are rational. It makes us feel in control of our lives. When we make mistakes, it's easier to see them as rare exceptions rather than flaws in ourselves. We can celebrate our achievements without noticing the emotions, habits, or biases that influenced our choices along the way. Even education and reasoning, which are supposed to help us think more clearly, often serve a different purpose. They can help us justify what we already believe instead of challenging our assumptions. Humans are incredibly good at building arguments to support their opinions, even when those opinions aren't completely logical. Believing we are rational gives us pride and control, but it can also blind us to the ways our minds really work. Understanding this is the first step toward thinking more clearly and making better choices. Part 5. The role of emotion in decision-making. Humans are special because we mix logic and emotion in ways no other species seems to. And emotion isn't always irrational. It can guide us in quiet, important ways. Fear keeps us safe from danger. Love connects us with others. Curiosity pushes us to explore and learn. In that sense, emotions can be very rational. They help us survive and thrive, even if they don't always match cold, strict logic. At the same time, emotions can cloud our judgment. Anxiety can pretend to be caution. Desire can pretend to be a strategy. Pride can feel like confidence. Many choices we call rational are really a careful negotiation between reason and feeling. So we have to ask ourselves, is perfect rationality even something we would want? A purely logical being might survive, but it would miss love, art, beauty, and wonder. Perhaps our irrational side is what makes life truly meaningful. Part 6. Lessons from cognitive science. Research in psychology and neuroscience shows that humans are often predictably irrational. Even when we think we are making logical choices, our decisions are shaped by mental shortcuts called cognitive biases. These are patterns in our thinking that help us make quick decisions, but they can also lead us astray. Take confirmation bias, for example. It makes us focus on information that supports what we already believe and ignore anything that challenges it. Or loss aversion, which makes the pain of losing something feel stronger than the joy of gaining, even when taking a risk would be smarter. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy, where we continue with a failing plan simply because we've already invested time, money, or effort in it. These biases affect everyone, from students making everyday choices to CEOs running billion-dollar companies. Our brains evolved to help us survive, not to think perfectly logically. That means quick, imperfect decisions were often more useful than slow, perfectly rational ones. Understanding these biases is an important step toward better thinking. It doesn't make us perfectly logical, but it helps us pause, notice our patterns, and make choices with more awareness. Real rationality comes from learning to act thoughtfully, not perfectly. Part 7. Can humans become truly rational? So, can humans become more rational? The answer is yes, but only to a point. We can train our minds to notice our biases, pause before reacting, and think more carefully about our choices. Practices like mindfulness, reflection, and critical thinking can help us make decisions with more awareness. But some level of irrationality is part of being human. Complete objectivity may be impossible, and maybe that's okay. Being rational isn't about being perfect. It's about trying to understand ourselves, learning from our mistakes, and acting with intention. Even when we fail, there's insight to be gained. Even when emotions guide us, we can pause, reflect, and make a different choice next time. That is the beauty of humanity. We are flawed and emotional, yet capable of deep understanding, growth, and extraordinary insight into ourselves and the world around us. Part 8. Reflection. So, are humans really the most rational species on Earth? The answer isn't simple. We are logical in some ways, yet deeply irrational in others. What makes us truly remarkable is how we combine thinking with emotion, creativity, and intuition. Our flaws, our mistakes, our impulses, our biases are part of what makes life unpredictable, meaningful, and full of depth. Maybe rationality isn't a final destination we can reach. Maybe it's more like a journey, a quiet awareness that we aren't perfect thinkers but learners. We are creatures who can notice our mistakes, question our assumptions, and strive to make better choices next time. That ability to reflect, to grow, and to seek understanding in the midst of our imperfections is a kind of wisdom. Perhaps it is the kind of wisdom that only humans, with all our contradictions and emotions, can truly hold. Outro. Next time you face a decision, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this choice coming from clear thinking, or from habit, fear, or desire? Can you notice the quiet whispers of your mind? Can you feel the patterns of your heart? In that space between thought and feeling lies your own kind of rationality, messy, human, and beautifully imperfect. So, are humans really the most logical beings on Earth? Or is the real wonder that we have the ability to question ourselves, learn from mistakes, and grow? Maybe that is the truest form of reason we can reach. If this made you think about your own decisions and the way your mind works, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Mind in the Mirror for more reflections on the mind, human nature, and the mysteries of life.